Umpire contact, Harry. So it turns out this is your long suit.
Yeah,
I went through the list.
How long have we got, Jared?
I went through the list dating back to the start. Well, 2 in the one game.
And it was 2 in 30 seconds as well. It was...
All right. Shall we?
Yeah, we played, yep. If you got the vision.
Let's have a look. You can take us back to it.
So, as it...
Your fault.
Oh, I can...
Where else is the umpire going to go?
Yeah, well, so for a bit of context, as a key forward, you're rarely in the actual stoppage, but for whatever reason, they were like, you know, maybe go into the stoppage, mate, maybe try and spit forward and try and get at the end of one. So I reckon that was my eyes lit up a bit. I was like, all right, here we go. I'll run out the outside and bang, collision to the umpire. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure what's happened there. Ball went out of bounds and there was another stoppage, and then same pattern, the exact same thing happened and hit each other again. And we're both pretty filthy with each other, I think, and we both thought it was the other person's fault. But yeah, it was a bit of an expensive week as well.
So you hit the same umpire.
Same umpire. And obviously I weigh 100 kilos. I'm not sure what he weighs, so I reckon he would have been pretty flat with it. But yeah.
So what do you make of today's development? Is if you reach 4, and this is relevant for a couple of teammates of yours, Adam Cherrett and George Hewitt, who are already at that threshold.
Yeah.
It's a tribunal appearance now rather than a fine.
Yeah, it seems, tough. I think, just from my point of view, and I know a lot of the midfielders boys speak about it a lot, but it's nearly, like, some of the contact is so hard to avoid, and nearly, if they've talked about if you're running with a player, it's nearly half a tactic to run around the umpire as nearly like a screen, like in basketball. So in cases like that, I mean, it's pretty tough that you're ultimately going to maybe miss weeks of football when I think sometimes in footy that can be unavoidable. But I'm not super up to date with everything that's happened today, but that does seem like missing weeks for like accumulation of tiny things that might not be your fault seems quite harsh, but that's my take.
So players had no idea that would be the case?
Yeah, I don't think I remember when a couple of years ago or last year, someone said that, you know, you're kind of half lucky because if you get another one within 12 months, like there's a chance you miss a game. And I was like, that's quite bizarre that, you know, a couple of incidental umpire contacts leads to missing games of footy. So I don't know if everyone knows the exact detail of every law, but yeah, as I said, it seems a little bit stiff for, I don't know what you reckon, Liz, but seems a bit stiff for boys to miss games of footy for that.
Yeah, good thing I'm not a midfielder. I don't go near him half the time.
But are you aware, I mean, having been a midfielder, I think the one thing that you can nearly guarantee is when the umpire throws the ball up, he will back in a straight line.
Yeah.
Towards, you know, centre bounce, they'll always back. Any stoppage within the game, they'll always back. So can you understand it, I think, from maybe the umpire's point of view, the frustration? I mean, the number is what?
63 in 16 rounds.
63 in 16 rounds. And I think this is the one that would annoy the umpires the most.
Yeah, that specific one, or I'm just watching the screen there.
These ones.
Yeah, I think back to Nick's point before, like there's so many things that go on in your head in a game, and as you can speak to, Geordie, when the ball's bounced as a midfielder, you know, you might have a role on someone, you might have an obligation to go and get the ball. Like, there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of those ones are players just hunting the footy, which is 101 footy, and we never want to lose that. So, yeah, I guess it gets a little bit tricky. But from an umpire's point of view, of course, it's not great to be hit, and we don't want that in the game. But maybe some common sense sometimes as well. Do
you expect, Nick, that the club will present this to its players in the coming days, given the crackdown that's been announced?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, we were speaking about it a bit before, but whether or not some clubs would challenge them and stuff in previous years, because yeah, you don't want, you know, some of your best midfielders to miss a game if they've had a few umpire contacts. I'm not sure that's you know, beneficial for anyone. Yes, you don't want to see the umpires get hit and go down hurt or anything like that, but yeah, you'd hate to also see a few boys miss a game or two, yeah, for stuff that is accidental.
Harry, the last time you were here, it triggered a sequence of events that had you going for knee surgery.
Bad juju here, maybe, Jared.
How are you?
Yeah, I've gone pretty well, thanks. So nearly 2 weeks ago, had a little surgery on my knee, which was, yeah, not ideal, but yeah, we're hoping to try and avoid getting that done, but unfortunately it was pretty sore. But yeah, all went really well. I was back running this week, so yeah, progressing well. We'll be back, hopefully training the next few weeks and go from there. So, but it hasn't been ideal sitting back and watching on TV. So yeah, it's always tough as a player when you can't have any control or contribute. Yeah.
So we saw you have a little bit of a run yesterday.
Yep.
Have you got a timeline in mind, or are you a bit of wait and see at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. Anytime you have lateral surgery, it's around 4 to 6 weeks, and as I said, it's been progressing pretty well. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that's still the play, and yeah, just keen to get back training and run around with the boys. So, all progressing pretty well.
How has it been? I mean, I'm not too sure whether you follow the media. Sometimes you can't escape it. This football club has been the #1 story for the last probably 3 weeks. How has it been for you to deal with that and not being able to play? How has the club and the environment inside the club been over that stretch of time?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think regardless if you want to or not, it always comes across your desk in some capacity. And I guess the privilege of being at a big club is that you're relevant, and that there's people who talk about our club a lot. And yeah, I think you can't hide from that. And that's undeniable. And when a big club isn't playing great footy, that's kind of expected, and I think everyone can accept that. It doesn't change too much what we do day to day in terms of we talk about what we can control and kind of what we value inside the 4 walls. And if we were, riding the roller coaster of narratives every week, then it's a tough way to go about it. So we're pretty big on the voices inside the 4 walls and what we can control. But the reality is, as I said, as a big Melbourne club and not performing like we want to, then of course there's going to be a lot of questions asked, and a lot of, I guess, fans and media people alike that, will raise their opinions, I guess.
You've been through this before in previous coaching tenures. Does it feel similar, different, more stable?
Yeah, it's a really good question, John. I reckon this is the most stable the footy club's been in my probably 10, 11 years in terms of key position roles, and the element of stability that brings has actually been really strong, and that's probably why maybe as a senior player this year it's been really disappointing, because that has been in a really good spot versus over my 10 years that's probably been a little bit up and down. So yeah, in terms of stability and day to day and good key people and key roles, I reckon the club's in a really good spot. And the disappointing part is that hasn't translated to on-field performance, and we're sitting here and not going amazing, which is always a tough pill to swallow. But I think it's important to still look forward. I think there's no point looking retrospective around what the first 16 weeks have been like when there's still 2 months of footy left. So this week, and I'm sure we've got main train tomorrow, but it will all be about living it forward and what we can still get out of 2025.
Is there any level of edginess? There will clearly be change at the end of the year. It's just what sort of change does that look like? And who knows who gets caught up in it? Do you think about that at all? Do you feel any level of edginess around that as a player whose name has been sporadically thrown up by those on the outside?
I think every footy club at the end of the year has changes in some degree, whether it's big change or little change, and I think we'll be no different when our season finishes. As I said before, I think as a player or being a big club, there's always hypotheticals and there's always things that are thrown around, and that's part of one. When we're not going so well, those questions come up, and as I said, being part of a big club, that always happens. But from our day to day, we're focused on bringing good energy and bringing some positivity, and still plenty to get out of the last 2 months of the year. So that's where, as a player, all our energy goes. And I think what makes the game so great is that lots of people talk about it and have opinions, and it's a beautiful part of the game. But as a player, especially in these scenarios, it's kind of what you can control and the day-to-day energy you bring.
Nick, we got a glimpse of what the Swans are capable of on Friday night with the core of the leadership reassembled. Was it frustrating to walk out of that so close to really maybe mounting some sort of charge?
Yeah, I think, frustration's probably the big one. I mean, we put ourselves in, a situation on the weekend to win that game of footy, and, disappointing to not come away with the 4 points. There's no doubt about that. And, as Harry said, there's still 8 weeks left, and we've got plenty to play for still. And, I think, yes, we would have loved to have won that one and not make it so hard for ourselves. But, we've got a long way to go still. And who knows what the next 8 weeks have in store for us.
What's been the change, mainly over the last 3 weeks? It seems like, watching, you've got back to your DNA, the defence and the pressure, even the predictability pre-bounce. Papley going up to Sam Darcy and getting absolutely ragdolled after that. But it seems like there's an edge back to this Sydney Football Club.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's what we've prided ourselves on for a long time, and it's been inconsistent this year. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, yes, we've had some players out and some, you know, really important players to our team not playing. But I think, you know, the way that this club has built its brand on has sort of not swayed. And we've got back to that the last few weeks in, you know, a real hard contest and pressure football and the way we defend. And, you know, I think our game is in a good spot. We're obviously not where we want to be sitting on the ladder. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, going forward, we're extremely confident that if we bring our best football, then we'll beat anyone. So I think that's our challenge at the minute, is to iron out those little inconsistencies during the week and during games. And, yeah, as I said, our best is no doubt just as good as anyone's.
See if you can cause some havoc on the way. And Nick, it's always great to have you with us. Good luck on Sunday.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, guys.
Harry, good luck with recovering. We'll hope to see you out on the field again shortly.
Thank you.